Thank you so much. Yes, recording is in progress. Welcome everyone to today's Career Fair Cram session. I'm Angelica Ramirez Blanks. I am one of the Assistant Directors of Career Coaching and Education at University Career Services. For those of you who have never been to our offices, we're in Haynes Hall on the second floor. We hope you come and see us, make an appointment. And for today, I am joined by the lovely Amanda from E&J Gallo Winery. I will let her introduce herself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Angelica. My name is Amanda Bussey. I am one of the sales recruiters here in the Southeast region for the E&J Gallo Winery. Hey guys, I am right up the road in Raleigh if I've never met you, so I'm not very far away. I was actually on campus last week in the College of Business getting to greet some students. We'll have a team on staff tomorrow on campus as well, so super excited about that. But I've been with the E&J Gallo Winery now for 16 years. I was recruited through our sales leadership development program. And for the past 2 years, I've been in a recruiting position for our company, going out and speaking to students about the exact same opportunity that's given me such a fun and plentiful career. So I'm really excited to be here. It's kind of come full circle, and hopefully we'll be able to help get you guys prepared for all the upcoming on-campus events and the career fair, and you'll feel really ready and prepared to go out there and speak to those employers and secure those jobs and internships.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being with us today and for being able to give us the perspective as a recruiter, as someone who meets with a lot of students, but also someone who's been through the process yourself, having gone through that leadership program and having been with a company for so long. So you really get to give that unique viewpoint, and we are so lucky to have you. So thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. So just as a heads up, guys, in this particular format, if you would like to submit questions or have any comments along the way, I encourage you to use the Q&A and chat functions since we do not have mics on or anything at this point. So if you have questions throughout the workshop, please feel free to post those, and Amanda and I will keep an eye on them throughout the event. Now, I'm going to cover a couple of things that we do here at UCS and talk a little bit about the career fair, as well as engaging with Amanda and getting her perspective on some tips and tricks for you all to be successful at next week's career fair, and then just in general in some of your interactions with employers. All right, so I hope that since you are all with us, you have navigated the UCS website before. You can go there to find all of our upcoming events. You can use the news and events section here up at the top of the banner. You can also see that on the right, it will specifically list out workshops, fairs, all kinds of different options for you to find the events that are most relevant for you and where you are in your path. So these are all hosted through Handshake. That's where the registry comes from. For those of you who are here for the pre-business passport or for class or other things, we do in fact utilize the Handshake attendee report, and so that will be handled, so none of you need to worry about that. You'll get credit for being here with us, and we're so glad you are. So before actually I head over there to start talking about career fair, I did want to just touch on some of the things that UCS provides. A lot of students don't think to come to us until you're kind of further along in the process. You're thinking, oh, I've got to get a job or an internship, or I need my resume looked at. And we do help with those things, but there's never a bad time to come and see us, whether you're a freshman or a senior or somewhere in between, whether you know exactly the path you want to take or you have no clue, you belong in our office. We can talk to you about selecting majors, about leaning into the interest areas and strengths you already have. We want lots of success stories from our UNC students. We want you to have stories like Amanda's, where you have entered into an amazing opportunity as a student that led to this fulfilling career where you're able to give back and do things that matter to you. We want you all to follow those passions and have satisfying lives and careers. So anything we can do to support you will be done in that office, and you are absolutely welcome to make appointments anytime. We also have drop-ins on Wednesdays and Fridays. So I highly encourage all of you to take advantage of those if you have not already. All right, now let's talk career fair. So we've got the 3 P's here. We've got to plan, prepare, and practice. So I imagine that if you're with us, you've probably done some of the planning already. You're doing some preparation by being with us. But Amanda, I'd love to hear from you. What are some preparations and practices that you recommend for students?
Yeah, well, especially since this upcoming career fair is going to be virtual, I would say if you haven't already made an appointment to talk to those employers you want, you may be behind the ball. You want to go out there and make sure, especially if an employer is only maybe going to have one representative on for the entire time span, they're going to be booked pretty fast. Pretty full, I would imagine. So going ahead and getting ahead of everyone else and making those appointments so you actually have a chance to speak to the person that you want to speak to, first and foremost, I think is the best place to start. And then also making sure that your Handshake app, your Handshake profile is up to date and correct. A lot of employers, such as myself, love using Handshake campaigns, and we'll go out and send targeted emails to a blast of students. And maybe I'll send an email to all College of Business students who are juniors and seniors and interested in sales or whatever. You can make it as specific or as vague as you want. But if your information is not up to date, you're not going to be targeted in those specific emails. So you could miss an opportunity for an employer to get it to engage with you as well. So get your appointments early. Make sure all your profiles, including your LinkedIn profile, is up to date and ready for employers to view. And make sure your resume is ready to go too, because you're going to have an opportunity not only to have your resume on Handshake for them to look at and for you to send over electronically immediately, but maybe that employer is not super tech savvy with Handshake, right? Maybe they're like, hey, here's my email address. Shoot your resume over real fast. Let me look at it. You need to have it ready to go so that they can have access to it in that exact moment.
Yes, those are all awesome tips about making the preparations and prioritizing the list of employers you want to see and making sure you get in those appointments, as well as making sure all of those public facing profiles are up to date, ready to go, as impressive as they can possibly be. And if they're not quite ready, there's still a little bit of time. Try and make those appointments to have those documents looked at, to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and having the best chance to nab up all of these incredible opportunities.
I think there's also, if you don't mind, before we move, and well, actually, you know what? It's actually on this screen. The next thing I was going to mention was preparing your virtual environment to make sure you're set up for a professional conversation. I know it's always fun as an employer when I see a messy room and I'm kind of looking to see what's on that nightstand behind you, but it's distracting. You do not want the employer focusing on the random items that are piled up on your bed. You want them focusing on you and having a meaningful conversation with you. So taking the time this week, guys, to clean your room could help tremendously.
Yes, absolutely. And if you are not the cleaning type, getting a virtual background will work. Getting a professional virtual background can also work. So UNC has a number of them available for download through the university. You can also utilize Handshake and other tools to blur your background. But sometimes those tools can be a little funky, especially if you have a light background. So again, we want to minimize those distractions so that employers can focus on you and what you have to say. So Amanda's absolutely right. Making sure you choose a location and that is quiet and is conducive for you to focus. Again, if you're going to use a virtual background, do some testing, try it out first, make sure it's functioning properly, that your laptop is on full battery or that you have it charged and plugged in, that your Wi-Fi connection is steady. Honestly, we're all on a screen and you can pretty much only see from here up. But Amanda, what do you have to say about dressing appropriately in this virtual environment?
Well, I know a lot of people are always like, be comfortable. When you're comfortable, you're yourself. And yes, there's something to that. But my rule, like what I tell everyone is to dress from head to toe, including your socks and shoes, as if you were meeting someone in person, because you're going to sit differently in your chair. You're going to carry yourself differently, even in front of the camera. It just makes you feel more professional, and exude more professionalism. I know, like, even myself, I don't know about you guys out there, if anyone else on the call has ADD. I know that I work more efficiently even during the day when I have my shoes on. It's the weirdest thing. But even for virtual career fairs, dressing as if you were meeting someone in person, you carry yourself differently.
Yes, that is 100% true. It's verified in research as well. I mean, even in minor things like there's social research that talks about when you take that kind of Superman stance, that we naturally get a boost to our confidence and self-esteem. So it's sort of in that same vein. If we dress for success, we are in the mindset that I am going to be successful at this event and I'm going to be professional and speak like somebody who would succeed in that space. If I don't truly believe I am, I can play the part.
Exactly. Fake it till you make it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, that last point here, prioritize those employers of interest. Make sure that you're maximizing your time as well as theirs. So that you can truly get the best out of this event, and so can they, because you are a valid candidate for them, and that interaction should be valuable for both of you. These other points about if you're not familiar with Handshake already, definitely do some of those tutorials. Just basically familiarize yourself with all of the technology and spaces that you are going to need to be in before the day of.
Speaking of technology, make sure you're turning your devices off too, or at least silencing everything, because you don't want anything to distract you. If you're in the middle of a conversation, you all of a sudden look down because your phone buzzes. It doesn't come across very professional. I know whenever I'm making a virtual classroom presentation, I always take my watch off because my Apple Watch will vibrate and it distracts me every time. So maybe keep that in mind. What around you in your world, electronics and otherwise, set you off and distract you from the main focus, and make sure it's all taken care of and buttoned up in those moments.
That's such a good tip. I'm taking mine off right now. I'm going to put it right here.
It really does distract me constantly.
Yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. Yeah. And you don't want anything to distract you or then kind of break your focus, so that you can be very comfortable and confident in your responses and your conversation with employers.
Absolutely.
So great tip. All right. So first things first is these appointments that you're going to have are going to be pretty short. So brevity is your friend here, but we want to also make sure that you're not selling yourself short. So here comes in that practice piece, making sure that you have a pitch ready to go, sort of that elevator speech of, this is my name, this is who I am, this is why I'm interested in your company, let's talk. The piece here about research is so important. There is nothing better that you can do in preparation for these career fairs than to research the employers that you've made appointments with thoroughly. Let them know that you cared enough to do that research, that you know about an opportunity that they are offering, a specific, let's just say, leadership program, or a certain internship, or a particular field department that they have, their specialty. If it's a nonprofit, what is their mission and why does it matter to you? all of these things can make you a more appealing candidate when speaking to an employer. It shows that you cared enough to do that preparation and that you are genuinely interested. You're not going in and saying, "Hey, hi, so I've heard of your company. What do you guys do anyway?" Amanda, if somebody kind of came in and was like, "Hey, so what is I see E&J Gallo, what do you guys do?" What would
Yeah.
you?
That still happens, unfortunately. Definitely like in the real world career fair, the face-to-face career fair, it's very common for someone to walk by our booth, see a bottle of wine and a picture, and stop and be like, "Oh my God, what's this? What's going on here?" And it's I love having those conversations and meeting new people that way. But just going back to what you were saying, and you said it perfectly. Brevity is what you're looking for here. You're on an appointment schedule. You only have a set few minutes with these employers in the virtual world. So make sure you're making the most of your time. We do still occasionally have students that'll pop in or make an appointment just because they thought our company was unique and stood out from the rest of the companies, and they don't know a lot about us. But you know what? They made that appointment and they had time to do some research. It's their fault they didn't. It's very impressive, and it shows how much you are interested in that company and in that employer for you to take the time and learn even the littlest thing about them. Just coming in and saying, "I would love to know what your opportunities are for the summer." That's a good question. It's not the best though. Tell me why you want to be there. I love to start my conversation with students. I'm like, tell me a little bit about yourself and why are we here today? Why do you want to talk to me? And that gives them a chance not only to introduce themselves, but tell me what it is about our company that drew them to us, and why they're interested. And it kind of will lead in, and it shows me if they've done some research or not.
Yeah, that's a great point. We actually have a question for the pitch. If you are only a freshman and looking for an internship, how do you discuss your skills if you don't have that many? Oh, that's such a great question, Trinity. Thank you for submitting that. First of all, I haven't met a single freshman on the UNC campus who doesn't have skills, so please don't sell yourself short there. We all have our unique talents and gifts and experiences, and whether or not you've been paid for them in a position as a job, or whether it was a volunteer thing, or whether you're really active in a particular club or at your church or other things, all of that is useful skills. So just because you are new to a college campus or you're new to the university doesn't mean that you don't have something to offer. It's
100%.
about taking the time to reflect on those experiences and decide, when did you feel really great about work you were doing? What were the subjects in school or classes you're taking now that make you excited, that don't maybe feel so much like work? What are those areas that you're gravitating towards and why? And find a way to craft your narrative around that space and why you deserve to be there. And as like we were saying earlier, if you don't fully believe it, it's hard for you to sell to a recruiter. So really try and think about those areas and what they might ask you in return. So that's my response, but Amanda, please feel free to chime in.
Oh, I love everything you just said, but I do have two quick little stories that might make you feel better and being a freshman and making that pitch. One is I've actually had a young lady before on her resume. She had babysitting listed under her experiences in her job history, which is unique. You don't typically see babysitting listed. And I asked her, I said, "Oh, why is this on your resume? Like, it's great you did it, but why is it here?" And she went into this whole speech about what she learned, the skills that she learned just from babysitting, crisis management, time management skills, how to engage with, not students, but children. And she had this whole spiel prepared. So no matter what your experience has been or your professional career has been up to this point, there's something you have learned from it. So be prepared to talk about it and spin it in a positive light. Also, there are a lot of employers, we're actually one of them, that don't actually take freshmen as interns, perhaps. And the only reason is we're in the alcohol industry. You have to be 21 to work for our company. But I love meeting underclassmen and building those relationships. Prime example, there's a young lady at UNC that's on the basketball team. She met us as a freshman at UNC. She walked by our table in the union. and was like, hey, what's going on here? Who are you guys? Started up a conversation with one of my colleagues. And for the past 3 years, if we have not reached out to her within 2 months or so, she emails us or texts us and says, hey, what's going on? I'd love to have coffee. I hope you're doing well. Merry Christmas, whatever it may be. And this year, she's a junior and will be an intern for us this summer. And because of that, because of her persistence, her love and passion for the job itself, and just her vibe, I guess, like she's just so fun. We fought hard. We're like, listen, she's getting the internship. I don't care who else is overqualified. She's coming with us. So it never hurts as a freshman or a sophomore to get out there early and start having conversations with employers. It could definitely pay off.
Oh, what great stories for that. Oh, and Trinity, who submitted that question, just said that babysitting example was perfect for her. She was a daycare teacher. Oh, bless you. I have a child and I don't know what I'd do without a daycare teacher. And that is no easy job. So there's tons of qualifications that you have just in that experience alone. Like Amanda said, that kind of crisis management, time management, conflict resolution, handling parents or other teachers, collaboration, lots of stuff. So
100%.
That's a great question. And thank you, Amanda, for sharing those two stories. I love the fact that that student was so persistent and that she never let that line of communication fall, kind of kept following up, and it paid off. So great, great. I have another question here about whether the grade on Handshake, so your year on Handshake, is based on your actual years at Carolina or credit hours. It's a good question, Morgan. It's based on your credit hours. So in our system, it will say you are a junior, even if you're a freshman and you came in with a lot of credits. So you may get emails, for instance, like Amanda said, if they're targeting juniors and you're not quite a junior, you'll need to make that differentiation. But we don't calculate that on the UCS side. That's actually done through your credit hours in the system. All right. All right, great questions so far, everybody. Thank you. Our last piece on this slide is definitely asking for contact information. So like Amanda said, we've got this short amount of time that you have to talk to employers. And if you've got a great conversation going, that's awesome. You want to keep it going. They have to move on, and so do you in talking to your next appointments. But exchanging contact information and ensuring that it's the way that that recruiter would like to be contacted, whether it's email, phone, a particular website, or perhaps they'll refer you to the next person to speak to if you talked about that. That's something that you should gather and log and follow up after the fair. Say, hey, this is so-and-so, this is Morgan, this is Trinity from UNC. We spoke last week at the career fair, or we spoke earlier today. I really enjoyed our conversation and I'd like to keep it going. So it's a way of saying thank you for their time and also opening up that line of communication for future interaction.
And make sure to connect with people on LinkedIn. That's also another great way to stay in contact with a recruiter and maybe even see what's going on within that company or what their schedule looks like. So maybe you can find out when they're coming back to campus so that you can have another conversation with them, maybe meet them for a cup of coffee, something like that.
Yeah, great tip. Thank you. All right. So in a basic pitch, these are sort of the things you'll want to cover. Your name, what year you are, your major. Minors can be included if they're relevant to the field you really want to get into. What have you done? Give them something impressive out of the gate that is related to what you would like to get involved with in that company. So letting them know what you want to do, and if you've done the proper planning and preparation and you know which employers you want to talk to and you know what you want to talk to them about, you should have some burning questions for them. Make sure you get at least that number one question in. But Amanda, is there anything else that you would recommend that students include in their pitch?
No, I think this is perfect information for the initial quick little introduction. Going back to the whole thing that we don't have much time in these virtual situations, so you want to get to the point as fast as possible. Practice what you're going to say. There have definitely been times where I'm like, hey, tell me about yourself. Who are you? What are we doing here? And I will time them. They will talk for 1.5 to 2 minutes. And then that's a huge chunk of that time when you have like a 10-minute window. So make sure you're practicing this and you're not nervous. Look in the mirror. You can even open a Zoom call by yourself, just open Zoom and practice talking to yourself on your camera. If you're not comfortable seeing yourself on screen, which at this point, 2 years in, we probably all should be pretty comfortable with that, right? But I would say practice it, have it down to a science, but also at the same time, make it come across and feel authentic. You don't want to sound like a robot and just sound over rehearsed. It's something you want to be comfortable with and be able to spill it out. Think about it as if you just met a very attractive person literally in an elevator that you want to make a good impression on because you want to go on a date and you only have a few seconds to make that impression. You want to come across with energy. You want to come across with enthusiasm and confidence, but also get straight to the point at the same time. So I think I could probably pull a lot of parallels between dating and interviewing, truthfully.
100%, yes. Just kind of like that, the interviewing and the job search is about finding the right match, because as much as students worry about, oh, I really want to get the job, employers are trying to find just the right fit. And you all kind of are really interviewing each other to make sure that that's going to be a relationship that's constructive and helpful moving forward.
And if you've done your research on the company, that third bullet point there, what do you want to do, should be pretty easy to answer in a way that's really going to make the recruiter's ears pop up. If you've looked at their website and you read their job posting, you're going to be able to pick out some key terms. Are they looking for people with strong leadership skills? Are they looking for people with really strong work ethic or integrity? Well, now you have those key terms. You know what they're looking for. What have you done in your collegiate career up to this point that exemplify that? And you basically are given the keys to the castle at that point. You've already made a great impression, and you're setting yourself up for success.
Definitely. We've got another question here. Someone said they're looking for a summer internship, but the employer has not mentioned internship as a category in their portal and Handshake. How can I approach them? Well, wonderful question. Sometimes employers don't necessarily always put every opportunity that's available on Handshake. So it's definitely worth asking. You can let them know, why are you interested in that company? Even if the opportunity isn't, being publicized, you can say, well, this is the employer that I want to work with. You let me know how I can get involved. There are other ways to get involved with organizations other than internships, and you can get creative and try and have that conversation with the representative. Amanda, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, just ask them straight up, and maybe it's a point of they've already filled all their internship spots for the summer. But if you let them know that you're interested, you're passionate, you want to work for this company and learn more about them, maybe if a candidate drops out this semester or the next couple of weeks, maybe something comes up and they can no longer feel that commitment and the company's all of a sudden looking for one extra person, they're going to have you in the back of their mind. So don't be afraid to ask. Yeah.
Excellent. That's a great point. So here are a couple of pitch examples. I'll read them out and we'll go through just the two of these really quickly. And I would love to get feedback from you, Amanda, on if a student said these, what your impressions would be. So, hi, I'm Mary. Thanks for coming to the fair today. I'm graduating in May with a degree in management and society, and I'm interested in your management development program I saw posted on Handshake. I think it fits well with my internship in human resources that I did last summer, as well as some activities like training volunteers with the local literacy tutoring program I've been involved with here at Carolina. Can you tell me more about it?
I think that's a great way to start. She introduced herself. She led with what experience she already has that would make her relevant for the company and why she's interested in the opportunity. And the first question, even though it's a basic wide open question, it opens the door for a great conversation. I think that's a really good pitch.
Awesome. All right, here. Hi, I'm Joe. I'm an undeclared sophomore, and right now I'm just trying to learn more about the type of opportunities available when I graduate. I'm interested in working with people and enjoy being creative. So when I saw that you have a marketing internship, I wanted to come by and introduce myself. Could you tell me more about the position and what kind of experiences you're looking for in candidates?
Also, another good one, even though he's still young in his collegiate career, he doesn't really know what it is that he wants to do. Just going out there and trying to have those conversations speaks a lot about him as a person. And seeing that he's already done a little bit of research as far as the marketing internship is concerned and expressing what his skill set is currently and his interests are. I think it's a a good way to start and have a basic conversation with an employer. Maybe it might not be the right fit for him, but he's out there trying. He's trying to learn, and I don't think any employer is necessarily going to turn him away for still being undecided. Now, if he was a senior coming into his final semester, still trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life, that's going to be a turnoff. We want people that are dedicated and committed to our fields by that point in their career. But as a sophomore that's still exploring and interested, I think it's okay.
That's a really good point to make about him being a sophomore and being early in his college career. Um, I think we've all had our different points of trying to figure out our paths, but that shouldn't keep us from engaging in events like this and thinking that we don't have value at them. It shows courage and gumption that he's even willing to come and talk to recruiters, even though he's nowhere near graduation and hasn't even declared a major. So I love that. All right. So we've kind of come to our very specific questions here for Amanda. So I'll just start here at the beginning. What makes a student really stand out at a career fair? You've got a lot of appointments, you're talking to a lot of faces, they probably all blend together after a point. How do you kind of pick the ones that are like, oh yeah, there's something special about that one?
Yeah, so I think for me in particular, I'm recruiting and hiring for sales positions. So I'm looking for people with typically pretty big personalities that aren't easily intimidated. So at an in-person career fair, it's someone that's going to carry themselves with confidence. They're not going to be fidgeting too much. They're going to be straightforward. They've probably practiced their elevator speech, so their hands aren't super sweaty. But in the virtual world, you have the ability to hide that a little bit. But also in the virtual world, it's a little harder to get that enthusiasm and that confidence maybe across on the screen. So you want to make sure, like, I think going back to, dressing well, sitting up straight, using good mannerisms, but maybe not being like, do not swivel in your chair while you're talking. It's a nervous habit that a lot of people do. Very distracting. Just gonna throw that out there. But yeah, I think it's someone that it comes with those good questions, that's done their research, that's passionate about our company and our industry, and that's just makes a good impression overall. And someone that follows up. I mean, like you just said, at the end of the day, the faces all start blending together. I talk to so many students. So if it's someone that I've liked and I'm taking a little note on, and at the end of the day, I get an email from you saying, "Hey, great conversation. I would love to learn more." That's going to make them stand out a little bit more, even.
Great. Yes. Okay. In terms of interns and new hires, anybody who's new in a field is bound to have some slip ups or maybe some deficiencies in certain areas. Are there some things that you've kind of seen pattern wise that you wish students were a little bit more prepared to handle?
And I guess so, but at the same time, it's not something that's necessarily that the university hasn't prepared them for. I think it's something that it's just kind of because of COVID, everyone's kind of been, cooped up for so long. I think regardless of what industry, what career you're going into, most likely you're going to be in an entry level position. There's going to be a certain amount of maybe grit or work ethic that really needs to kind of come to play in that role. It's probably going to be a dirtier role, and you're going to have to work harder than the person next to you. So I think coming in with that attitude that yes, you have an amazing college degree from a great university like Carolina, but you're still starting at the bottom. You're trying to work your way up and make a name for yourself within that organization. So coming and working harder than the person next to you, being a team player, raising your hand, volunteering, networking. Your diploma is not going to get you to the top necessarily, but standing out and not being scared to work hard will go a long way. And I think that's probably the one thing that we've seen the past couple of years is we recruit really highly motivated, talented individuals that are incredibly smart. But sometimes the nitty gritty, dirty work is maybe where they struggle just a little bit.
Yeah, I that makes total sense. And I love that point about how, diploma can only take you so far. These amazing educations and degrees that you'll get here at UNC can open some incredible doors. But once you get in, you've got to really put forth the effort and be persistent, like that student Amanda was talking about earlier. She didn't let that line of communication fall. After a couple of months, she kept following up. She didn't let Amanda or anyone at E&J forget her. And obviously that persistence paid off. And it also showed that she's the type of person who will follow up and who will be persistent, which is a quality I don't know any employer wouldn't be happy to have.
Absolutely.
So let's see, what are some particular changes to the workplace that you've seen at E&J Gallo, and how can students really market themselves in that kind of environment?
What changes maybe since COVID? I can't see since the pandemic. Yeah, okay. I had to move I got all of our faces right here in the middle. So at Gallo, one of the things I think first of all, our business has boomed the last 2 years. People are drinking more wine than ever, which has been amazing to see. I think the one struggle that all of our new hires has had over the past 2 years is maybe a sense of isolation, where we're a very social company. We're always doing stuff together, mentor outings, mentor family gatherings, networking events, in-person sales meetings. We're always together having fun. The past 2 years, that hasn't been the case, unfortunately. So finding a way to stay connected to people, and maybe that's still in the environment currently at the company you're going into, but finding a way to stay connected, finding a way to network. If your company's doing a virtual happy hour, and you're like, ugh, not another virtual call. Do it, especially as a new employee. It might give you a chance to meet someone. If you're on an email chain and you see a name you don't recognize, maybe reach out and say, hi, I'm Amanda. I'm new here at the company. I would love for you to tell me a little bit more about what you do. Connect with your coworkers on LinkedIn. If you are allowed to do in-person things, find ways to engage with them. I think that's been the biggest change that I've seen in our workplace over the last 2 years is really that lack of social closeness that we're so used to within our company. Luckily, we're getting back into it. Things are changing. We're meeting in small groups. This will be the first year in, gosh, I feel like 3 years that we've had our Women of Wine and Spirits, one of our ERGs at Gallo. This will be our first time we've had our big conference, and we're all going to get together at one hotel and get to kind of love on each other for a couple of days. So we're super excited about that. But that's been the biggest change I've seen to our company, truthfully.
Definitely. And I think it's something that students can relate to. And I met with a student today who said, I hadn't been on campus in a year. So I think that they definitely understand what it's like to be isolated and are still trying to navigate ways of taking care of themselves and doing so now to how did that translate to the workplace. And I love that point about, oh, I don't want to go to another virtual call, but you really should. It's a different type of environment if it's like a workplace happy hour or a networking event. I'm always encouraging students to get involved in professional associations. Those types of groups have lots and lots of virtual opportunities that are not going to be the same as going to virtual class or a meeting even. So just even when you're kind of fried, it's worth pushing yourself to engage in those ways.
Yeah, build those relationships. You never know when you're going to find an amazing mentor or ally that's going to help you further down the road in your career.
Definitely. So Amanda, I think a lot of students do worry about these two next questions, and that's how much does their GPA and then their academic major matter when it comes to applying to positions?
So I think a lot of companies, us included, we have a GPA cutoff line. And I think the whole point of that is just because we want people, not that's crazy, crazy smart, the biggest geniuses in the world. I mean, that's great, but we want some, your GPA shows how hard you're willing to work at school. Because right now, school is probably your full-time job, right? You probably don't have another job. Showing that you're putting in the effort and you're able to concentrate in, and it's your job performance review essentially. But I can tell you there have been instances where we've met a dynamic candidate that their GPA was just a little bit lower than our cutoff. And we're like, hey, let's talk about this. What's going on here? And they've been able to defend themselves and say, well, I had a death in my family 2 semesters ago. I really took some time off from school. I wasn't focused. I'm building it back. Or I'm also working full time. I'm putting myself through school. I don't have student loans. This is what I'm balancing and how I'm. So that's completely understandable. Or maybe it's a case of, yeah, I pledged a frat my freshman year and goofed off, but you know what? I am focused now and I'm coming back hard. So if you do have a lower GPA and you still have a chance to get in the front of that employer, be honest. Tell them why your GPA is what it is and what you're doing, what your plan of action is to improve it and to grow past that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's some great feedback for students. It's wonderful if you've been high achieving and successful and you've got that high GPA that can really make you competitive. But if you don't, that doesn't mean that you're suddenly disqualified from going after opportunities. It comes back to that persistence bit, that work ethic, really showing these employers that, yeah, you had some life events or some circumstances that made it difficult, but you're not giving up. That shows so much more to them, and that's going to make them want to talk to you.
100%.
Yeah. All right. And now, how appropriate is it for students to reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn? And how do you think that they should do that most effectively?
So it's very appropriate. To be completely honest, I didn't know how big LinkedIn was in the recruiting world until 2 years ago when I took this position. I didn't even have a LinkedIn page before that. It is the platform where students and employers are engaging. So I would say completely appropriate. If there are recruiters out there that are not comfortable with you connecting without asking first, I don't know. I feel like that would be a red flag to me personally. But any student is welcome to connect with me. And whenever you do it, send a little note, especially if we've met. Say, hey, I met you at the tabling event last week at the College of Business. I loved what you had to say. I would love to connect and continue the conversation. Or, hey, when are you going to be on campus next? I would love to have a chance to sit down and have a cup of coffee. Or can I send you my resume? Where do I apply? Making that connection and sending a message with almost like a call out for action is probably going to get a response. If you just say, hi, I'm looking to connect. Hope you have a great day. That's great. I'm not going to respond to you. I'm going to connect. I'm going to let you see all my stuff, but I'm not actually going to engage with you most likely. But putting that call of action in that message will probably make a recruiter react a little faster.
Definitely. And that's just a good point in general when you're reaching out to people, making sure that ask is in there. And if you can be specific in your ask, like, hey, I would love it if we could connect, like you said, either on campus and have some coffee, or if you're not available, could we meet virtually for maybe 30 minutes?
Yeah.
So you're be letting them know the way you want to connect, the maybe amount of time that you would like to have with them, and they'll let you know what they can give you. Um, so, all right.
So I feel like I did not touch on the academic major question.
Oh,
So I
that's
just
right.
wanted to
Yes.
follow up. I noticed that I kind of skipped over that. I don't think most employers are going to care necessarily what your major is, unless maybe it's a very niche field where you need specific training. But I think a lot of employers are looking for people that have certain skill sets, a lot of soft skills, perhaps that maybe just come innate to the person. I know, for instance, within our career field, I mean, we're looking to hire people for sales positions. You can major in underwater bird photography for all I care. I'm looking for people with dynamic personalities to have a passion for a career in sales. And we have seen resumes with economics and political science and all these amazing, very highly educated majors that are, probably pretty hard to obtain. And my first question is, why are you interested in sales? But as long as they can tell me, yeah, I majored in this because I'm interested in economics and X, Y, and Z, but I have a great personality. I could talk to a brick wall all day. I want to build relationships. There's a lot of times that people go into majors because they have an interest in one field. And you learn that even though that's great, that's not what you want to do for the rest of your life. You want to go in a completely different direction. That's fine. Just be able to communicate that information.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that your point about soft skills, again, unless you're talking about very specific fields that do require a certain technical knowledge, that you are responsible for making those connections to the employer and saying, well, yeah, I got my my major in this area, but it prepared me in these ways. And I pursued it for these reasons. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for touching back on that question.
No problem.
And speaking of getting in touch with employers outside of the career fair, I did want to let people know that E&J Gallo will be on campus tomorrow in the afternoon in the Student Union lobby. So you can come by. And Amanda, is there anything else that you wanted to let people know about that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the actual schedule to sign up for an official coffee chat closed this morning. So it's no longer, I don't believe it's accessible on Handshake anymore, but still stop by. We still have plenty of time slots open. There'll be two of my colleagues there, Madison and Haley. And if one of them has a free moment, they will sit down and have a meaningful conversation with you if you want. If you have a resume and you're super passionate and you want to bring it by, feel free to do that. If you want to stop by and just steal one of our pins and some of our candy, do that as well. We're always looking for opportunities to engage with students.
That's great. And so that pretty much brings us to the end here. But I just want to kind of reiterate the points that we've talked about today, which is definitely make your plan for the career fair. Ensure that you have signed up for those appointments with the employers you want to talk to. You've prioritized who that is. You've done your research, or you're going to do it by next week. And then that you've practiced your pitch, write it down on a piece of paper, put it on a Post-it, try it out in front of the mirror. Like Amanda said, try it out on your computer with a Zoom window. We also have Big Interview, which is a great place to practice your interviewing skills. If you've never connected with that tool, it's on the UCS page under resources. And then if you haven't yet ironed out those profiles, LinkedIn, Handshake, and your resume, feel free to make those appointments. And we also have drop-ins with career peers on Wednesdays and Fridays. If you scroll down to the bottom of the UCS page, you'll see those hours and the link to the Zoom room. I just really want to thank everybody for attending today and spending some time with us. And thank you so much to you, Amanda, for giving us your perspective and your expertise and those incredible stories about students that you've had interactions with in the past. Those were so powerful.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun. I'm so excited to see that we had so many people stay through the entire presentation. That's pretty exciting.
We've got some really, really ambitious, determined students, and I'm so proud of them. So I'm glad that this was informative for them. And we are so excited to see each and every one of you at the career fair. The STEM one will be on the 16th and the all majors on the 17th. Make sure you do those plans and practices, and we will see you all there. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.